Hey, 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 everybody. It is Thunder. Just happens to be on Thursday night. I'm posting this over to my other group real fast. And oh, look, Kelly, we forgot to put music on.
That'll be all right.
Yeah. But, yeah, let me put this down and put it back over here on comments. Is it on comments? I guess it is. Alrighty. But yes, this is Thursday Thunder. I will be coming out with the Breaking the Cage on Sunday. I am returning it to Sunday now that the holidays are over. It will be coming out live, but at 11 o'clock at night. It's just had to get pushed back an extra hour. If you can't catch it when it's live, you can always go back and catch it on my page or on the Matrix Mind or any of my pages, including YouTube and stuff. I am starting to look into a few other things, and I'm probably going to be changing some sales soon, but I haven't fully made it that far yet. So the old sales still remain until otherwise spit out.
You taking advantage of those now?
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like a lot of that's also coming through with just what I'm supposed to be doing and figuring out with that new moon, with the full moon energy as well, because I feel like I'm unloading a lot of energy in general personally. So anyway, with that being said, the first cards that I'm getting out for the night is Dancing Through Infinity. This one is also coming with the Seed of Life. So this is specifically talking to us about relationships and letting them go, which kind of goes with the full moon, seeing things that are coming up and what we need to make the changes of, everything that's coming into light. It is potential relationships, but it's also releasing and letting go of other relationships. So it's acknowledging, the energy in which you are in, the truth of what it is. Like I said, it's an eternity of dancing through the energy. So this is going with the seed of life in the sense of it is always a new cycle, taking on another cycle. It's how we grow. It's just the energies have been incredibly tough right now. I guess what I'm trying to say is, yes, the energies have been tough. They've been hitting below the belt. They've definitely been making us see things that we have to change. But this still is just a moment in time. Don't let it overwhelm you and kill you. This is just, destroy you. It is just a moment in time helping you get to the next moment in the long, big scheme of things.
It's got to get worse before it gets better. That old adage reigns true really hard. So we're starting off with Justice in Reverse. So Justice in Reverse speaks to deception, deceit, more so internally. So stop lying to yourself. We need to begin the new year on a better foot. We need to stop fluffing ourselves up and trying to shoot rainbows up our ass on things that don't exist. Make things your reality. Don't sit there and just wish and wish and wish and wish and lie. And oh, well, I deserve this because of X, Y, and Z, because of my history, where I came from, my parents' upbringing, shit like that. Your will is your own. Your destiny is your own.
And what Kelly was just saying too, I mean, a lot of times we really get messed up on that, I don't know what to do. So we sit there and we ponder. And that ultimately is a decision not to do something. And before we know it, we missed the opportunity because we waited too long. So that's part of what she's saying right there as well. What I'm getting is discipline. Discipline, this is coming from my Tai Chi. One, it's speaking to us of birthing something new. But we're not at the birthing stage. We're still in the womb. The baby is still in the womb. This is the beginning of something. The breaths of the baby inside of the belly. This isn't actually when it's starting. The birth is starting. The discipline that is coming with this is speaking to you of exerting authority. Define, it's time. And when it is time to take the bull by the horns, creative strategy, it is speaking of when to give and when to risk. It is knowing the discipline and knowing the right timing is everything. Just like when you're birthing, you're still preparing. This is a preparing stage. Don't try to fast forward it. We've been saying for the longest time, January, February, March, April, and May, especially, is going to be some difficult times. You are preparing to make it through this time and where it's going to take you after that. Don't try to jump into March yet. You don't know the whole story.
So we have the flight card. So the flight card, beautiful, beautiful imagery there. It's kind of speaking to Phoenix rising from the ashes moment. It's about freedom, breaking the chains, breaking the shackles and everything that's holding you back. Stop trying to live here in a realm that's really trying to keep you constrained by monetary issues or things of that nature. Sever ties with toxic people, sever toxicity within the self. That's a really big thing that I've noticed I've been preaching for a lot of people when I've been doing readings and client work, is making sure that the toxicity within the self is severed first and foremost.
Definitely. And that goes for anybody who's a healer, anybody who is a tarot reader, anybody who's any kind of spiritual worker. Because for one, we have to make sure that we're turning ourselves off. We're not getting our shit jumbled up with the messages that we're giving out, so that we're getting the clear messages. And then when you're coming to get them, whether it's you doing your own tarot readings and stuff, this has a lot to do with, making sure that you're not. I'm one of the worst ones. I cannot do a tarot reading on myself. I can have the cards here, read for everybody else, but when it comes to me, I'm like, what's that mean? And that's because I'm attached to me. And a lot of people, especially readers, are that way. They are attached to them. So therefore, they do not read for themselves. This is saying making sure that you can disattach to get the truth. Because while your human is junking up, it will junk things up. Plain and simple. I think this is interesting. I'm getting the Three of Cups. And I see Three of Cups usually more from a negative standpoint than the positive. A lot of times they see the Three of Cups, as a celebration card. But I see it more like the gossip. The gossip and the shit going on behind everybody's back. But what's important is this is also speaking of Cancer energy. Tomorrow you have the full moon and Cancer. And this is also speaking to our inner emotional security. So it could be a celebration if you're coming into your inner emotional security and you have the right participants to celebrate your lives, their lives, everybody's lives, and the situation honestly with, good, open-hearted, loving energy. But if not, then with this full moon, start to say full house, with this full moon energy and Cancer, this is the time maybe to pull back and maybe get yourself the love you need and not worry about everybody else's opinions. Because, well, fuck them. Sorry, but sometimes that's the way it has to be.
So we have
everybody.
Storm. So the Storm, she looks pretty calm. She's there fairly docile, kind of just chilling there. It's a forewarning, the calm before the storm, shit like that. The storm is something where it can be beautiful, it can be destructive, it can wreck us in every way possible. And it's something that it's kind of like the Tower. Like I always tell people, it's necessary to get that clean sweep, to get that cleanse in a more forceful way, to be more in your face. This is about recognizing, again, the issues that you've just kind of you swept under the rug that are starting to creep back out.
Speaking of what Kelly was just saying, those things you swept under the rug that are just kind of creeping back out. What I'm getting is disposition. For some reason, my Tai Ching deck is coming in really screaming at me tonight. And this is speaking of diffusing the negativity. diffusing the negativity, because without diffusing that negativity right now, you're not going to restore the harmony. It is bringing that spiritual maturity, that spiritual adult energy in, and still being able to take the risk and try new things. It is getting out of your comfort zone, but it is understanding that everything is like the very first cards was with the seed of life. Everything is a cycle. One thing is going to dissolve, something new will begin. And the disposition right now that we're all feeling as we're going through this transformation is just reminding you, again, this is just a moment in time. You're going to make it through this shit, but, come back to you, come back to your whole, come back to reality, breathe, allow it to come through, and don't allow that negativity to destroy your inner peace. Because if you do, you're going to be taking many steps backwards just to take twice as many to move forward.
Definitely. And we have this super cute card here. This card speaks of intimidation. It speaks of overpowering. Are you the girl that's on top of the ice cream cone, or are you the ice cream cone that's kind of flailing around right there being like, oh shit? It's time to make decisions on maybe shifting your paradigm a little bit. Don't sit there and let people steamroll over you. Maybe now it's your time to steamroll over everybody else. Get what's yours. Be selfish. Be greedy. Unfortunately, you got to get ugly to get up in the world, and that's the way it is sometimes. This year is going to kind of speak to that for a lot of people. Come spring into midsummer, that's going to be kind of rough, where you're going to have to be a little cutthroat to get what you need to survive.
I'm sorry, I was reading. Kathy, I see that you're wanting, it looks like a reading. Tell me, Kelly, what you want and who you want, so we know what to do, honey. Let me see what I'm pulling out here. I don't like that. Thank you. The High Priestess. I don't see the High Priestess like everybody else does. I've said it a million times. I see her as the top of the deck. I don't see the Magician or the Fool as above the High Priestess. I see them as apprentices to the High Priestess. When you've become the High Priestess, you've learned everything. You might have to keep yourself in check and remind yourself, but you've already learned it. You've come that full circle. This is why you're the High Priestess. And this is speaking to us part of what we need to put into our energy right now, where we need on our spiritual path to place ourselves. She is the magic itself. Just like we understand, we create our own reality. But I've said, and I've been being told so much to remind everybody back to when they watched The Matrix. Like, go all the way back to the Matrix movies, the very first movie, and when they first unplugged Neo and pulled him out of the system, he has a big hole in the back of his head, and they're going to plug him back in and teach him like jujitsu and kung fu and stuff. And Morpheus is like, how long has he been at it? And they're like 10 hours straight. He's still a machine. So many of us are still hardwired for that energy, hardwired for the three-dimensional world, hardwired for the way we've always known it to be. Even though our inner high priestess is in us, it's connecting to that reality of we are everything, and stop connecting to that smaller three-dimensional idea. Just like in the movie, Morpheus is asking him after whipping his butt, in the kung fu, he's like, is that air that you think you're breathing? You create it. Where's your mind still hardwired against you? Learn where your hardwiring is against you, because it will help you get to your High Priestess when you break that machine.
Okay, Kathy, I gotcha. So here we have this super cute card yet again. Here, this speaks to, are you over here? Can you sit and be chill? Let your guides take over for a hot minute? Can you listen and watch and see what they have to offer you? Here, yeah, the chess is doing battle a little bit, but it's one of those things of maybe the battle to be had it's yours, but not in a sense of you can really handle it at this moment. Maybe you're a little too overwhelmed with work, family, school, whatever. It's just one of those things. Let your guides take over for a hot minute. They've got this. Let them have the reins to just clear the path for you. Get over the speed bumps and everything else.
Yeah, Kathy, I'll go in for you and for Grace here in a minute, but I feel like I was supposed to pull this card first. The Temple of the Body. Now, this comes from one of my darker decks. And if you can see, you're right in between the phases, more or less. It's half and half. And in a form, this is seeing yourself as a solid, but it's, look at her hands. I mean, her hands are a little bit monstrous, but yet she's beautiful. You are the temple of everything that's inside of you, whether it's good or bad. And you know what? Sometimes you're going to have some unclean, really negative, vindictive thoughts. That's part of the balance. That's part of you. And as we learn to accept ourselves, not in the form of, yeah, I'm allowed to go out and do these bad, horrible, awful things, but you're allowed to have the feelings that you feel. You're allowed to have the opinions that you have. Even when they're not exactly the best, they're yours. And that's authentic. And this is asking you to love yourself, your whole vibration for who and what you are and where you are, so that you can see what not you're changing, but what you're critiquing and making better about yourself so that you help love yourself better. Because the vibration of the body is definitely a different vibration of the mind, or that higher dimension, that, you know, third eye. The body is always at a lower vibration than the mind is, because the body is where we store all that energy. So this has a lot to do with balancing ourselves and loving ourselves and treating our bodies properly.
Okay. So, Kathy, for Audrey, I have Knight of Wands in reverse. I have Five of Wands. And then I have Water Fairy. So the two Wands cards, especially the Knight being in reverse, speaks a little bit of immaturity. It speaks to haste. It speaks to them not critically thinking, not using their noggin as well as they should. And it may get them into a little bit of trouble. Maybe they're mouthing off a little too much, something like that. They're not getting their way. So it just makes them kind of, you know, butt heads. Not anything that's really just like, oh my God, but it's one of those things that, like, yeah, again, like little spats and things like that. It's something they really need to overcome. It ties heavily into whatever is going on in their headspace. Maybe they just can't articulate the words correctly to get their point across. But overall, they just need a little bit of just not really smothering right now. They need a little bit more space for them to be able to pause and get their thoughts correctly in order. That way that stops happening. So just, you know, pump the brakes instead of just immediately trying to fight conflict with more conflict.
Kathy, this is for you. And it looks, for the most part, like you're walking the path, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. you're going in the right direction, but like you're having little hiccups. Which, I mean, who isn't? I mean, so well, the first card that came out is the Magician. Okay, but for me, I don't see the cards the way most people do, especially in this deck. This deck has to do, for me, it is about Mercury and air and communication and the shifts. Remember, Mercury is in retrograde. It is in retrograde. It is also altering the energy that is taking place in Mars, with Mars in retrograde, because it rules Gemini, and Gemini is in retrograde with more or less Mercury's energy influencing it. So up close and personal, siblings and everything in the home might be a little bit more tense. Okay. But the Magician typically speaks of being able to create anything. But for me, it also is connected to Hebrew. And it speaks to us of connecting the tent to the duality of the paradox, which in a form is still the same idea, but it's the alpha and the beta. The beta is the end. It's the end when the alpha is the beginning. And without them coming together, you have still an alpha and a beta and the big long story in between until the circle comes full circle. Okay. So the beta is the end of the lesson of this part, but it's the tent that seals it together. All right. What's coming with it is the Ace of Cups. So this is everything emotionally coming in wonderfully for you. It is glorious energy, but this is why I actually gave you four cards. The next one, I mean, just look at how dingy this is. This is get out of your head. Get out of your head, because your head is going to doubt it, question it, and take all that wonderful Ace of Cups and turn it into this debauchery, messed up shit. Don't do that. Because what I went back for and I asked about why are we ending it that way when it was so good, is it's the arousing. It took me to my I Ching again. It is the arousing. It is the thunder. It is the lightning. It is, like I say, it is your spark, your actual spark and connection coming in. Again, that takes us right back to that matrix. Where are you still connected three-dimensionally? Where are you still hardwired? That's causing any of this to screw up this. It is the shock, the awe, the upheaval, the inspiring, dramatic, powerful shift that is coming your way. It is definitely a shake to share, to teach, to learn. So something is definitely coming that's going to shake your world. But just like Kelly was saying earlier, sometimes you have to give it to your guides and let them help you through it, because you're not fully meant to understand it yet. You haven't gotten that source energy fully given to you yet. You're still in between the alpha and the beta and the connection. It's coming. It's just not all fully well-rounded just yet. And I'll go back for Gracie in a second.
So, Patricia, the free readings are for the collective. And then you can get a more personalized, like 2, 3, 4 cards from either Bells or myself. That's up to you. So if you want to just hang and catch the vibe, that's fine. If you want a more personalized thing, that's fine too. And also too, in the drop down thing, there should be our information for her Facebook stuff, my Facebook stuff, all that good stuff. All right, so
normally we charge, sorry, Kelly. Normally, if you're going to get one of us, this is about the cheapest you're ever going to get one of us. Be blunt. Because Kelly charges normally at least, I think, $30 for a half hour when you're working with her. And I charge more or less $40 for an hour. So this would be the best time for you to get it without having to get into the whole deep process. Sorry, go Kelly.
All right, so we have this card here. And just be careful of those that kind of baby, that need that baby kind of goo goo gaga, hold my hand, wipe my ass energy. We need to help those people get out of that, whether it's being a hard ass or just kind of telling them, hey, look, like that shit's not going to fly anymore. You're X amount of years old and you need to get your shit in order because I can't hold your hand much longer. It's that vampiric leechy energy. That's what needs to be avoided. I was warning people of that last year. I'll continue to warn people of it for at least another couple of months till I'm blue in the face. It's something to be aware of. You sit there, you bitch, piss, moan, and whine that, oh my God, like they keep calling, they keep wanting and wanting and wanting. You're allowing it. You haven't put your foot down yet. That's got to stop. They've got to hear it from you in order for it to stop. Well, very cool, Patricia. Welcome.
Okay, this is for Gracie. I could be wrong, because I know Gracie's watching. There's something going on outside of you with other people. Something's going on outside of you with other people. But it's some kind of judgment or personal judgment, and you're putting energy on it in some way. Because I'm getting it's very Capricorn energy, very prideful energy, stubborn, and it making you doubt yourself in some form. This is coming from you know who. But don't let that crap in, because that's going to mess with your heart chakra and your throat chakra. And it's just part of the funky hoopah that's going on right now. You're above this shit. Whatever that shit is. The cards come out first off with Mercury in the mind. Okay, and like you said, Mercury's in retrograde in the outer world right now in Capricorn again, which your knees may be bothering you too, because I'm getting my knee is starting to hurt. This is also where we're holding on to energies of guilt versus anger, frustration, and the knee gets locked up. But what I'm getting is definitely a feeling judgment. Maybe it's personal judgment. Maybe it's being inflicted by others and you're going to go with the flow of it. I don't know. But I am being told by him that it is affecting your throat chakra, speaking up for yourself or what you're hearing and what you're choosing to hear. It is also affecting your heart with acceptance, forgiveness, and self-love and self-respect. Mercury is in retrograde in that Capricorn energy of the outer house, the outer world, and everybody outside of you. Like I said earlier, it also is ruling the communication that is taking place in the third house of Gemini with Mars's retrograde. So it's looking at things from a darker perspective or a little bit more of a self-centered perspective. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad, but it's saying don't get caught up in it. Because the next thing that came with that was the South Node. And the South Node is everything that you're good at, but it's not good for you. Everything that's part of what you've always known, part of the way that the life has always been, the groups, the memberships that you've been part of, and realizing where possibly you've outgrown them and it's not serving you anymore, or at least something there is not serving you. What I got for the last card is Starry Dreams. And it says, pay attention to the messages that you believe you're receiving, because, darling, you are receiving them from them. You already know what you're supposed to do. It says, trust your higher self. Your higher self is already above this, and you already know that. It's your ego and your heart that's getting confused.
All right. So we have the Empress in reverse. It speaks to naivety, immaturity, certain delays in that department. That's something that needs to be worked on. Hopefully you guys, whoever that's for, you get it together before March, because that's coming up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And there's some kind of hurdle in March. Maybe it's an emotional hurdle. Maybe it's something you've been darting and ducking and dodging for years and years and years, well, it's going to smack you in the face. So you better be prepared. Get that inner empress out, get that bad bitch out that we all know you can be, and really just bring the hammer down.
You're welcome, Gracie. I got 2 cards because I wasn't really sure 100% if that first one was what I thought it was. So the second card came out. I don't like them. Because this is really getting deep on you guys. Today for tomorrow. Now, she's holding her own hand. But will you forsake today for tomorrow? Will you put it off for tomorrow? Will you not do something because you have more time to get to it? Or will you forsake yourself and hope that tomorrow it's a never-ending cycle. It's part of your life. You're not going to get away from you, except for the fact you are. And see, this is fragmentation. So this is stating, if you don't choose you now, there's pieces of you you're not going to get back. Not without having like a soul retrieval. It's a piece of you that's going to disappear. This is getting really raw on people and telling them, you know, this is the time to choose you. Fragmentations are what shamans and other healers go in for soul loss. We're going in for, this really causes depression. It causes us to disconnect from ourselves. It's where we give our power away because we couldn't believe in ourselves. This is not the time for that. Don't push it off for tomorrow, because it may not be there. Not just the opportunity, but the part of you that you're trying to rebirth, trying to love, it may not be there. Okay. Is Janet, is the 5, I mean, are they both for you from me and Kelly? Is one of them for Michael? Because I know you've done that before. So let me know, or let us know, so we both know for sure who we're pulling for. Since you're saying you want them from both of us, but I want to validate they're both for you. So let us know before Kelly or I actually pull. Okay?
So writing off of what she just pulled, we have conflict. 5 of Wands coming back out again for everybody. It's inner conflict, like I said before, with the Empress in reverse kind of tying into that as well. It's about working through this, making sure that, you know, you, at the end of the day, all you have is you. Yeah, you can have family, friends, everything else, but you are looking out for number 1, or you should be looking out for number 1. And number 1 should be you.
I'm laughing because they can, I mean, Aries, I am. I just saw that, Janet. I was going to tell Kelly in just a second. But I mean, we're programmed to you know, think that if we love ourselves too much, if we're all about ourselves, that's narcissistic energy. No, there is a fine line between being self-centered and narcissistic. If you don't love yourself enough, okay, perfect example for those of you who followed me for a long time, you know, I take care of my mom. She's almost 80. She's like 78, you know, and she has AFib, she has dementia, she has, you know, a lot of problems. But I have to take care of me. If I don't love me and go, you know what, not today. Today I got to step away from this. I'm not going to be any good to her. So you can't be the best you can be until you start to choose that you are the most important part. This life that you're living is ultimately, believe it or not, yours. And if you continue to allow everything else to be more important than you, you're not coming into your I am power. It's not about being a narcissistic. It's about self-love that is acceptable and deserved, but knowing when you're taking it too far. But 90% of the time, most of us empaths and sensitives, we just give, and we never actually claim it unless we're doing some magic spells and stuff like that. But we start loving outwardly and we give of ourselves until the well's dry. You've got to love you. There's got to be you first. There's got to be some fire for the self. And I'll pull for Janet in just a second. I don't know if Kelly's doing it yet.
Okay. So, Janet, we've got 7 of Cups in reverse. We have the World. And then we have Vine. There we go. So 7 of Cups speaks to cups are normally emotions and things like that. With it being inverted, it speaks to being a little more realistic than you have been. If you have your head in the clouds or you're just indecisive and wishy-washy, you got to come down. You got to come down, ground, focus up, because we have the World. The World is a beautiful card. It speaks of cycles. It speaks of seasons, time, everything. The World is, the big, beautiful cycle that we all strive to find our way in. And the thing is, if you are a little bit just airheaded and just a dreamer, that's great if you manifest, but it doesn't seem like you're manifesting in the right areas. You may sit there and start to manifest and then sit there and have that squirrel brain moment where it's like, oh, well, there's this I can do, and pull in and pull in and pull in and pull in. You're going to get overwhelmed. The World needs you quite literally at its core before you can spread and be that luscious vine. That moment where you just go out and just grow and stretch and kind of just be that really badass invasive pest. It's one of those things where that's going to take a little bit of time because you got to focus a little bit better. So stick to that one main goal you had way back in like the fall.
I can't pull your cards yet, Janet, because for whatever reason, whatever Kelly was saying, they would not let me pull because it had something to do with the way it's targeting your head, your brain, your thinking. And they wouldn't let me pull until after you two were more or less done. They are pointing out that you are dealing with some disappointment issues and it's making it heavier on you. It's weighing down your creativity. And then that's forcing it to be part of the ego, part of the, in honesty, they're saying pride, blame, and fear. No, they're saying it has to do with some form of relationship grief. I got the wrong, you see me holding my fingers. It's the way that they're talking to me. It's personal judgment with some relationship grief in some form, that there's an ego problem with some disappointment, but it's keeping you heavy. It's been keeping you from truly bringing out what you have. They gave me the first card and then I'll pull the rest. Because what they were saying is holding together. And I feel like I don't even need to read the other parts of this. It's the union, it's the cooperation, it's the membership, teamwork, it's to risk and to give away in the way that Tai Chi works. But I feel like it says exactly what it is. You're holding it together, whether it's meant to be held together or not. Like I say, in the Libra energy, a lot of times, and I'm not saying that that's what this is, but in the Libra energy, a lot of times, we're trying to force and create harmony and balance in areas where sometimes we're not meant to create it. You're holding everything together, which is also part of what's weighing on you. They say that it's hard for you to accept help and that you need to be able to be willing to accept help in whatever the situation is. Now, let me see what else I'm getting here. You need to bring it stronger. I'll switch decks. Thank you. Anything else? Was this one for her for sure? No. That's why I didn't read it. Okay. The first is the well. Diving into the depths of you. Diving into the depths of you. Forget everybody else. Forget everything that you're holding together. This is about getting back to you, to your soul source, to, you know, the nitty gritty deep inside of you. It is penetrating the well. Like I said, we can't give from the well when the well is empty. So this is getting back to seeking your truth, seeking your wisdom, your insight, your inner knowing, trusting in that, allowing your guides to help you get into the well, because the well is part of like being in the womb again, allowing us to, you know, spiritually mature and evolve before we're reborn. So this is a form of where they're directing you. And contemplation. So this is more or less stop, pull back just a little bit, because in order for you to penetrate and be able to give away, you've got to know exactly where you're coming from to know what you're going to be giving away. It is regaining your overview. It is increased understanding, solitude, and reflection. So this is just entering the womb again, allowing the growth to take place again. Slow down, because like I was saying in the beginning of the show, you can't jump straight into March and April. There's something that's going to shift before we get here. And this is part of how it's going to get you there. Or at least that's what I'm getting.
Okay. So I did a bells and I pulled 2 cards for everybody at one time. That doesn't really happen all that much for me, at least. So we have 9 of Pentacles in reverse. And then we have Oak. 9 of Pentacles normally lets you know, hey, your hard work's paying off. You can chill. Kind of look back and be like, damn, I did all this. 9 of Pentacles in reverse is saying, nose to the ground, keep going. Oak is telling you to tap into that masculine energy, seek out that fatherly, grandfatherly, brotherly, whatever kind of energy you got to tap into, and just draw it in and let that be your little beacon to get down to the nitty gritty and get down to what needs to be done, and it needs to be finished as soon as possible.
Well, I'm sure you are coming into your warrior, Janet. Didn't mean to get all quiet. I was reading. It happens. But going off of what Kelly was just saying, I mean, I'm getting the Ace of Discs. This is all 3-dimensional. You know, it is being created. It is coming into reality. This is a wonderful thing, but don't think you're done yet. Don't think you're done yet. We're still working on this. We're still preparing. We're still building. We're still getting this. Ooh, this is the direction in which you need to understand we're moving. None of us are there just yet. And I'm getting it drilled into my head right now. Look at this as the goal. Keep it going, but don't give up on yourself. And don't get too cocky either.
And all 3 of those cards were Earth energy. The Earth polarization right there was just on point. So that's something that tells me it's laser beam focus that needs to be going on. Don't let people distract. Don't let you trip yourself up. None of that. Because we don't need that. And then we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant is a great teacher. The Hierophant, he's seen some sacrifice to get to where he's at, but he's teaching now. And that's what needs to be done. Maybe there's a lesson that needs to be had, but it's not your lesson. That doesn't mean go and interfere and try and, throw yourself down, white knight, get into the middle of it. It's to rise above it and let that person know, hey, you have backup. I'm your backup. This is what ideally you could be doing. That doesn't mean wade in their own shit, but it means to just kind of pick them up by the collar and be like, this way, not that way, this way. So just be careful, because sometimes we can toe that line and get a little too personal and too emotional. And all of a sudden we're just nose deep in somebody's shit that we've already worked through ourselves. So just keep that in mind. Be the teacher.
Another thing with what Kelly was just saying, because it's been coming up for me a lot with my clients. As we start to grow and we start maturing spiritually, remember, law of attraction means that you are attracting that vibration. But you're also sometimes attracting those that want that vibration, that are not yet part of it. And it fits what she was saying so perfectly, because you get to a point where, sadly, it's like cord cutting. I mean, I've had some people in my life who I have loved, but at this point, to continue to allow them to be part of my life because they're seeking the vibration in which I am growing towards, they ultimately are going to pull me away from it if I allow them. And it's a decision. So it's not always that you attract the vibration that you are. You also attract the vibration that desires to get there. And it's ultimately up to you on, well, I always say there's that yo-yo. There's the higher part of the vibration and the lower part within a vibration. Are you going to yo-yo, or are you going to keep going up that ladder? The choice you're making. What I got was Jupiter and abundance. And I always connect Jupiter to the higher self, because technically he's one of the rulers over Sagittarius. And that's also the galactic center. I mean, or it has the galactic center in the energy. But Jupiter right now in our astrology is no longer in retrograde. He's been going back and forth between Aries and Pisces, and Aries and Pisces, between retrogrades for a while now. And he's getting on that last little bit before he finally moves into Taurus. And then it's a whole new story with that self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, or aggressive push and shove energy. It'll be one of the two. And this is definitely asking you, who is your character? Do you know who your character really is? Your higher self, your soul self versus your earthly self? You've been going through a lot of 12th house, grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities, lies, skeletons in the closet, coming back into let's start a new cycle in Aries. But Aries isn't good at following through. Aries is good at like, ooh, I have this great idea. We're going to do this. We're going to do this, this, this. Ooh, look, squirrel. And I want to do something else. And completely just not finish it. It's, I want what I want, and I want it right now. That is not the energy. Jupiter is saying, stay with the abundance, stay with the higher knowledge, stay with learning who your character is, acknowledging and truthfully coming into this, because he's going to make a major shift when he moves into Taurus. He ain't got much time left, and he ain't coming back to Aries for like 13 years. So this is a big culture shock for a lot of people. And where your life gonna go, because Jupiter, everything he touches, he expands upon. But what they forget to tell you is he will expand upon the negatives just as easily as he will the positives.
So Megan, yeah, basically Nine of Pentacles upright is saying, hey, you can take a bit of a breather right now and just give yourself a pat on the back. With it being inverted, it's one of those where no, you still need to kind of keep pushing on before you can kind of take that water break. Okay. So to round out the night, I have Page of, it says Staffs, but Page of Wands. Page of Wands, the page is very naive. The page can speak to inner child work, communicating with that inner child. Buy yourself a Beanie Baby or whatever. Do something that appeases the inner child. Spoil yourself a little bit more. Reconnect if that's something you've been having an issue with the past couple of years. I know it's a lot of people in like 2016 were harping and preaching on, oh yeah, I do inner child work all the time. I do shadow work. I do all this. And then, unfortunately the 20s happened and all of a sudden everybody just kind of dropped it. That's not good. That's showing your inner child that you're neglecting it. Kind of like maybe what happened to you when you were a kid. So you're just repeating that nasty cycle and it hurts. It hurts you. It hurts your inner child. It hurts everything about the astral that you built with your inner child. All that shit. It's time to rekindle that.
And playing off of what Kelly was just saying, it's not just that the inner child is important. The inner child, is incredibly important. But without your inner child, when we were little, we were able to have fantasy land. We were able to have make believe. And we grow up and we grow away from that. And even as we're getting more into our psychic and our abilities, and we're growing into that spiritual path, if you can't connect with that inner child, you're going to miss a lot of the pieces that you need on this walk. Plain and simple. Because that inner wonderland, that inner curiosity, that inner superhero, even if you were just the kid, on the arm of the couch, diving into, the cushions, I'm Superman, and landing on your belly. That's part of the inner child. You have to have that belief. And the reason I'm agreeing with Kelly is because I do, but also because what I think I'm going to end the night with is the card that I pulled from my own deck is Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer, and he's great at healing everybody else's wounds, pointing them out and seeing them, but not so good at his own. Plus, he's in Aries, and like I was just saying about Jupiter, this is about coming into our character, acknowledging ourselves on all levels. The inner child is part of that Chiron. It is part of the wound, but even more importantly, it's the gatekeeper. I can't give you anything better than that. I love you guys. Bye. Good night. See you next week sometime when we get our shit together and figure out what day it'll be. Bye.